please welcome my guest for this afternoon, Bessie. Where'd she go?
Hello?
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 Bessie!
Hi!
Bessie, the camera's over here!
Oh,
The camera's over here!
Hello?
Hello!
Howdy, how are you today?
Hello. Welcome on in, Bessie. So happy to have you here.
Oh, did you see how far I had to travel on my own
Yeah,
two
no, just
hooves?
really out there in the distance.
All the way from yonder, even.
Mm-hmm. Fortunately, not from out of state, but we'll get to that later.
Oh, yeah.
Even so, Texas is very large. But anyways, I'm sure most folks are already familiar with you, but for anyone who might not be, if you could introduce yourself.
I'm gonna try to do this slow, because I have a bad habit of doing it real fast, like.
I mean, that's a party
Hello.
trick too.
Okay, so let me do the slow version, and then I'll do the fast version. Okay, here we go. They called me, Eminem's been real quiet since I came around, but, hello everybody, my name is Cowgirl Bessie. I'm a cowgirl who is also coincidentally a cowgirl. No, I did not make a typo of my name. I go yeehaw. And right now, I'm over on, Vtuber Talk with Jay, this cool guy, this real neat guy. And then for those who have the frequency ability with your ear holes and such, hello, my name is Cowgirl Bessie, but Cowgirl is also coincidentally cowgirl. No, I did make a typo. Can you help me now over on Jay?
Very well done.
Much.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Have you ever timed yourself to see what your fastest run through that is?
I have not, but I have been like 5 to 6 minutes behind in chat before, and I noticed one of my mods say like this cow takes forever or whatever, and I sped up real fast, and I got through about 5 minutes of chat in about 1 minute.
Ooh, very nice, very impressive.
Thank you.
Speaking of rehearsed lines and party tricks, so one thing that I mentioned to you, I am not from Texas, but I have been in Texas for some time now. This is something that I mentioned on previous shows, so not new and revealing info here. But one thing that I learned shortly after moving to Texas is that there is this party trick that you can do with folks that are from Texas. That if you, I'm gonna sort of have it on display here and do it in practice. Don't worry, I'm pretty confident you're gonna handle this just fine. It's a call and response thing, and it is relatively reliable that if you are trying to get the attention of a group of Texans, that you can use this line
to just
get everyone to do a thing.
Okay.
The stars at night are big and bright.
Deep in the heart of Texas.
Okay, cool, that worked. I've been really embarrassed if that just went right over your head, but I was like, I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty confident on this one.
I knew the second that you said a universal Texan thing. I was like, man, I gotta get my clapping hands ready. Gloves off, like ready to get chalked up. I put chalk on my hands. I was like, this is gonna be the best 3 claps I've ever done.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, thank you for going along with me on that.
Yeah. You know, something that really, I mean, I've lived in Texas pretty much my whole life. I've only ever, like, moved to a different state for, like, less than a year when I was, like, 6. But I've lived in Texas pretty much my whole life. And the thing that trips me out, anytime I visit any other state that isn't Texas, which is very rare, by the way, I don't understand why Yankees don't ever say hi to people. I even tweeted about this not too long ago about how, like, if you pass somebody in the hallway or the grocery store or something, you say, hi, how are you? They're like, good, how are you? And you say good. And it doesn't matter if you ever see that person again, but it's so rude to not say hi to people, even if you don't know.
Yeah, I guess it's an interesting thing of just sort of regional differences in respect that you aren't wrong that it's very different in Texas than you'll get in like New York or California. That some places.
What was that second state that you just said? Was that? I'm sorry, I didn't even recognize that state. What was that? What you just said? Huh? What was that? I know you didn't say that to me.
I said New York or Kansas.
Oh yeah, that's okay. Cool. That was yeah, sure.
Yeah. That in New York, that I feel like the thing, if you make eye contact with someone on the street, that you'll just give the little nod, just like, hey, how are you doing? That you won't vocalize it there, but that's just sort of the regional thing, because a lot of folks in New York, you know, you're busy, you're getting to places, and you might not really have the time to even get out the words, hi, how are you, even if it's just in that formality, because you're going places pretty fast. Whereas things I feel in Texas are just that little bit slower, where you have that time, and that's just one of the things that I've noticed, that I'm not from New York originally, but I've visited New York in similar cities, And that's just sort of the vibe that I've gotten of sort of, for lack of any scientific reasoning, how and why there is that difference.
Why they're big old meanies? That's the scientific term for it. Because I've never been to New York, but I've heard that it's depicted in shows and movies fairly accurately, with the sense of like how like just like not nice people are. Let me rephrase that. Maybe not nice, but not like hospitable.
Yeah, but just Southern hospitality is a very real thing. And I don't think it's necessarily that other places are actively inhospitable, but the sheer difference from Southern hospitality, where it is a more active thing, to a place where it is not an active thing, to folks who are used to it, feels actively inhospitable, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that is fair. Because, like, I remember talking about, like, yeah, like, if somebody passes me, like, in the grocery store, and I make eye contact with them, and they don't say hi to me, I feel like, I'm like, oh, what'd I do? And I remember, like, a lot of, like, Euro bros that watch me, they're like, oh, we never speak to people
Yeah, no,
like that we
Flux
don't
in
know.
the chat right now says you don't acknowledge strangers, and if you do, you get a weird look. And I think that's very similar to what you get in places like New York and bigger cities in general, of just that in those places, going out of your way to say to someone that you do not know, who you are actively passing, hi, how are you, is almost considered ruder, because then you are holding them up.
Odd. That's so odd.
It's just that difference in, like I said, regional tendencies. Just
because I mean, I've passed people before while walking by and been like, "Hi, how are you?" And they're like, "Good, how are you?" And by the time they ask that, we're not making eye contact anymore.
Nope,
like they're behind me, but I'm still talking. I've said good. How, and like I don't know. It's always I don't know. I've just always found that like I don't know. I've just always found that that's like I will say that other places I've been to where I've done that, people are like, what is she doing? Are you lost? I'm like, yeah, I am.
You're going to get either the sort of weird look of, huh? Or you're going to get the person that you're talking to, they'll look disarmed and kind of panic of like, oh gosh, wait a minute, why is someone talking to me? That they aren't necessarily going to think less of you, but that they will sort of be just disarmed by it.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, I'm just doing what my mama taught me so I don't get the wooden spoon. Like, you always be nice to people.
But that's the thing, like I said, that those places don't consider that type of exchange to be a nicety. That they can, their way of nicety is, I see someone passing by, I'm not going to bother you. That you have your own life, you have your own things to do, and that if I'm taking time out of your day to start even this momentary conversation, that I'm holding you up, and I don't want to hold you up from your important life. And that it's considered like courtesy in its own way there.
I guess that is nice if that's considered courtesy. But yeah, it always has. It's always tripped me out. I'm always like, no, I just want to say hi. I don't want to talk. Like, what's funny is I don't even consider that talking to someone. I'm just like, I said hi to you, and that's what that is. I'm not having a conversation. This is like a very quick transaction of like, hi.
Yeah, and
hi.
That's the thing. But that difference that folks in other places that aren't used to that when they hear that at first, they might actually think that you're trying to start a legitimate and full conversation, and that also contributes to the misconception. It's just, there's a lot of different cultures out there, and that you're very on point, that the interaction of passing ships, as it were, has its own culture, and that there are these two relative extremes, and obviously you get variations and in-betweens depending on where you visit. But the sheer difference that it's sort of a binary of there is or isn't an active, reaching out to someone and like even starting of that briefest of conversations, and the fact that it is just silence or lack thereof makes it very stark for folks who are used to one thing and then experience the other.
Yeah, I'm like, I get itchy when it's quiet. Don't do this to me.
It's the type of thing, if you ever go to New York, that silence on the subway.
Oh, that's horrifying to me.
Or at the very least, like if you're gonna be just sort of talking quietly to a companion, that if you're riding with someone, having a soft conversation, that's fine. People aren't gonna look at you funny, but if you try and start a conversation with your neighbor on the New York subway, that will get you weird looks.
Oh, that's so strange. Maybe I don't want to go to New York.
It's like New York, and like I said,
like
I've
the
never
Yankees, the States.
That I've never lived in New York, but I visited several times, and it is a really nice place. That there's a lot of cool stuff in New York, and it's just like I said, a lot of people are really busy there and doing different things and going to different places. And if you make time to meet up with someone in New York, they will make time for you. If you're, going out of your way to meet with them,
Scheduling and
yeah,
stuff.
that if you schedule a thing, they're going to be there.
Schedule.
Absolutely. It's just the random passerby interactions that don't happen.
Yeah, inconsiderate. Yeah, Yankees, I tell you, inconsiderate. How dare you?
Literally the Yankees if you're going to New York City.
Quite literally. So that's what I was saying. Like the Yankees states. The
Mhm.
state. The stanky Yankees.
Yeah, well, having grown up in Maryland, I was no love for the Yankees. My team growing up being the Baltimore Orioles. So
Oriole. Isn't that a bird?
yes, it is.
The bird. Okay. I get my birds mixed up sometimes. Like I was thinking there was a lemon. A lemming. I thought that them was birds. I thought they were like puffins, but they wasn't.
Not quite.
They're like weird little rodents. But I thought they was like a little puffin. So I get my birds mixed up. Birds are very. I don't even like birds. It's probably why I get them mixed up so much.
Also, I've missed a couple of follows. Yurd-san, Machete Squid,
Oh yeah.
Magnum Dong Leet, and
Yeah.
Awesome Blossoms. Thank you for the follows. Welcome on in, folks.
How dowdy. Baltimore Oreos. Oh,
I wouldn't mind it being the Baltimore Oreos. That sounds just delicious. That's
He's
great.
got a little Oreo man with a little baseball bat and a little cap on with big league chew. I used to play baseball. I didn't play softball. I played baseball, and I remember being like, my daddy gave me his old mitt, and I remember going to the store. I was like, I need big league chew, so I didn't even really like it that much, but I was like, I have it. I play baseball, so I have it, and that was cool.
If memory serves, the reason that Big League Chew became a thing and that it had gum with baseball cards, I haven't double-checked this, but from what I remember hearing someplace, at some point, that design or that choice to have gum with cards was done specifically to skirt certain tax laws that that the packaging of cards alone was subject to some sort of tax, but by having a food object with it meant that it was now a food product as far as just legal classifications, and therefore was exempt from those taxes, and the cost of adding gum to the package was less than paying the taxes without it.
Oh heck yeah! I'm all about skirting around taxes, except for legal reasons.
That wasn't skirting around taxes. That they were doing what was entirely legal. That's within the system. That's fine.
Them's is smart. That's actually, I didn't know that. That's super cool. That's
Speaking
mad
of which, I need to
interesting.
remember, I need to still do my taxes. Fortunately, my tax situation isn't too complex. It's just a matter of me punching the things in from the sheets.
Yeah, I gotta do mine next week. My aunt's an accountant, so I always have her do them for me.
That's convenient.
I'm like, hey, are you available? Because I don't want to do this. I'm scared of the IRS.
Also, Magnum, please do not eat the tasty trading cards.
They're bubble. Well, listen, okay, no, I take everything I said back. I have a bone to pick now. Why are they? They're bubblegum flavor. They smell like bubblegum. They're packaged with the gum. They
You're
smell
right.
good. You want to take a nibble.
Razor has a good point. How else are you going to get the fiber? You got to have fiber in your diet.
See, I mean, listen, get the point. Listen, you're gonna be chewing. It's got to be healthy in like a dietary, well, not dietary, but like a diet sense, because it's gonna take you a little bit to chew through that card. So like you're chewing, you're getting your jaw exercises,
Yeah, burning calories. Absolutely.
Exactly. See, I think we got a good idea going here. Just selling people edible baseball cards.
Mm-hmm.
It's like those little Listerine strips. Like you just stick a baseball card on there. You're like, oh, I got Babe Ruth, and then it disappears.
So I don't normally ask folks about how they got into VTubing, or I sort of see how'd you get into VTubing? Tell me about your model. That's and I say this lovingly. It's kind of low hanging fruit. That there's a lot of other shows that ask those questions, and they ask it well, and it's a good question. But I try not to, ask questions that have likely been asked before. But I'm going to ask you because I know part of the answer, and because it is so out of the ordinary. And that is that your father got you into VTubing, which is an absolute anomaly. So how did that happen?
Let me wet my whistle for this story. So it was when was it? I started in 2021. So in 2020, so basically, the cow as a whole is an anomaly. This is true. So my dad, cow dad, I used to play a lot of modern warfare. Okay, I was like on PC, and it was listen, all right, it was standard Call of Duty lobbies. All right, you leave me alone. Anyhow, I would stay up until like I don't know, like 3-4 in the morning playing with people. And my daddy, his room is his like music room. My daddy has a music room. It's on the other side of my barn wall. So he would hear me late at night like yelling and all this stuff, and he would come in sometimes and he'd be like, you know, you're pretty funny actually. I'm like, well thank you. And he was like, you should probably stream all this. I was like, I don't know, like I was like, I don't really, I'm not into like streaming very much, and I don't know, I don't want to show my face and all kinds of stuff. And so I was always very nervous about it. And both my parents are in tech, so they're super careful. They're like very, very cyber security aware. We do not give our, contrary to popular belief, with you know, like parents and stuff. Mine do not give out their social security number on the internet to people who call about how your computer's been hacked. That's my grandpa,
your
which I'll tell
been
you.
Hacked. Your social security number has been compromised, so we're gonna need your bank information.
I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna be real honest. My grandpa, my daddy's dad, he does that like once a year.
Oh no!
Like actually, it's bad. We've fixed it since then, but anyhow. But yeah, so I was always very cautious about like how I would stream and blah blah blah. And so one day, Cow Dad walks in. He's like, "Hey, Bess, you want to see something cool?" I was like, "Sure." And he showed me his phone screen, and there was this weird little shark lady on the screen. And I was like, well, "What's this?" He's like, "This is streaming." And I was like, "You're yanking my leg right now. What you mean this is streaming?" So he explained it to me. He's like, "This is called VTubing. It's like rigged models and stuff and blah blah blah." He's like, "This is what you're gonna do." And I was like, I don't know, whatever. And so he was okay with me saying that I didn't want to do it. But it was whenever I said that I didn't think that I could, I was like, I don't think I could pull that off. He's like, well, no, now you have to. He's like, would you want to stream? I was like, yeah. He's like, would you want to have a mom? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you just don't think you could. I'm like, no. He's like, okay, well, now you have to because I know that you can. And so we spent a while. Like, I spent what's the month before October? September?
Yes.
Okay, so probably mid-September or so, I started looking into everything. So I like downloaded Streamlabs, OBS, and all kinds of stuff, and blah blah blah. And I'm talking to artists or whatever, and he's helping me design everything. He's helping me come up with everything, and like doodling and like backgrounds and blah 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 and all kinds of stuff. And we go ahead and I placed my order for my very first model on October 24th of 2020, and then spent a while like learning everything, and I taught myself all this stuff, and I made all my own backgrounds and all kinds of stuff in 3D Paint, still going strong. But yeah, basically my daddy, he was like, if you don't want to, that's fine, but if you just think that you can't, well, that's not okay. And so yeah, he's the one who, he saw Gura and he was like, this is cool, this is how you're gonna do it, and sat with me for many a nights, and yeah, and we
that's so sweet.
Yeah.
Louisa in the chat, other parents, you're gonna be a doctor, engineer. Bessie's parents, you're a VTuber now.
Yeah.
But I do need to back this up one step and ask,
yeah,
how did your father come across Gargura?
I think I'm not 100% sure. I think that just like some of the communities that he was in and stuff, because both my parents are on Discord as well. My daddy helped me set up my Discord server and everything. My parents taught me everything. But yeah, I think just some of the communities that he was in just got posted, and he was like,
amazing.
Thank you. But yeah, he just, I think it just got shown to him, and then he was like, this is super cool, and it kind of just took off from there. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, that's incredible.
Some of the first like quote fan art I ever got was actually from my dad, like him doodling little stuff.
That's
and
so
like
sweet.
Yeah, he helped me fully with my design and everything, so it was really cool.
I'm guessing that being a cowgirl was a pretty early concept, that it feels just based on the limited information that we know about you, Bessie, this feels very natural. That
it is very natural, and I always hate. I'm gonna tell you a secret, okay?
What's the
Okay. I never like to admit this, but Cow Dad coined cowgirl. Yeah, he was a real integral part of all of it. It was great. Yeah.
It also just
But
sounds
yeah.
like your family has a propensity for puns to begin with.
Oh yeah, and yeah, and I'm also an only calf, so I'm an only child and everything. So they're very like helpful with things and always
Mhm.
willing to like help me do stupid little things,
Oh,
little
that's fantastic,
projects.
though.
Yeah, but yeah, long story short, Bess, you're gonna become a cowgirl on the internet now. And I was like, all right, this is what I'm doing for the next 2 years.
Ta-da! And here we are. Yeah, because I forget, is your second anniversary just past or just about?
Yeah.
And I think it's just about to happen.
It just passed in January.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. So in that case, we
Yeah.
started just about the same time.
I always find that out. I like hearing that. I feel like, I mean, it makes the most sense, but a lot of VTubers like started around in like 2021, like early time, because everybody's
basically,
still inside.
yeah, of just that whole live English very much was a major catalyst for the English VTubing scene.
Mhm.
That obviously there were English VTubers before Whole OEN, no question of that. But
Yeah.
the amount of community growth that happened as a direct result of HoloLive English is undeniable. So it makes
Oh,
sense
yeah.
that they had their debuts in mid-September 2020. So account for the delay of folks getting models and, deciding, okay, I want to do this thing. Fast forward 4 months or so, that's January 2021, and that's when you see this spike of just late 2020, early 2021 because of the ripple effect, as it were, from HoloEN and just the rise of VTubing in the West as a whole.
Yeah, and lots of cowgirl VTubers in 2021 because it was the year of the cow or like the ram or the bull or something.
Oh, I
Or not
forgot
the
that.
ram. Yeah. It was a good time. Good year.
Mhm.
I'm very blessed with many a cowgirl.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, no, this has been
Uh,
the year of the rabbit, so there's obviously been a lot of the bunny art going around.
Bunny girls, yeah. I see all those like assets with the little reactive ears, and they always make me giggle because they're so floppy and such.
Mhm.
The bunny
Yeah,
art
but
of Bess? No.
Aw.
No.
My second anniversary was in January. Like I said, that I've done a charity marathon for each of my 2 anniversaries, and I'm able to very easily remember that it's January 15th. So,
Nice.
but
Yeah,
you
very close. I was 8th.
gotcha. And you even remember the exact date that you put in the order for your model. You mentioned it being October 24th specifically.
Yeah, I remember. I was very excited because I was so nervous.
Mm.
It wasn't even super expensive, but I was so nervous because I was like, oh, like once I do this, like I have to do it.
Yeah, that
You know?
all right. If we're going all in, if we're investing in this model, I can't not at that point.
Going for it. Yeah. It was such a big step because I remember like texting my parents and be like, I'm gonna do it. They're like, okay. I was like, and like 5 minutes passed. I was like, okay, are you sure? They're
Well,
like, yeah, oh my
okay,
gosh, I'm gonna do it.
you're not going to try and stop me. But then
Yeah.
again, like you said, since it was your father's idea in the first place, I feel like the odds of him suddenly doing a 180 and say, actually, Bessie, don't do the thing, was going to
Yeah.
be pretty low.
Yeah, no, it was super cool. People really like that story.
Mhm.
Oh, man.
Because it's just such a rarity of my parents. Well, my parents don't know about VTuber Talk.
Yeah, we had talked about that.
Yeah, and that it is one of the long-standing potential rewards of my anniversary charity streams. Of if we ever raise $10,000 in that single year of charity stream, that I will call my parents and tell them, and that's just sort of the. Initially, it was a gag of, oh, we're not going to reach $10,000. That's just a silly thing I'll put out there and say I'm going to do. And this year, we didn't get there either, but seeing the year-over-year growth, I'm now just sort of sweating and looking at January 2024 and thinking, oh, shoot,
Oh
This
no,
this
it's
is now a very
real.
real risk, and if it happens, it happens. I'm very fortunate to have very supportive parents, and
Yeah.
due to completely unrelated conversations, I know that they are aware of what VTubing is, and they know of
You
what
ever see
streaming is.
this little shark lady on your phone? You ever see
Yeah,
her?
it wasn't even that. It was just that I do a lot of stuff at conventions. Part of the reason that VTuber Talk
Yeah.
exists is because there weren't conventions in 2020 and most of 2021, and I had a lot of free time. But now the conventions are up and running again, and there has been a lot of VTuber presence at conventions that,
I've noticed that.
mm, and whenever I do a convention, work a convention, my parents will ask, hey, anything cool and different at this convention? And there was some HoloLive stuff at a convention last year, so I sort of explained to them, and at that point I had in the back of my mind, okay, I'm laying the groundwork, so if and when I explain to them what VTuber Talk is, that I can refer back to that conversation and say, hey, do you remember when I explained what VTubing is to you? And fortunately, they understood it pretty easily, that they already knew what streaming was, so
Yeah.
baseline, they had that, and at that point just saying, all right, they use a virtual model on top of it, that additional step isn't too difficult. I think it's much more difficult to explain to someone what streaming is and the appeal of streaming, but they already
No,
had that.
that very much is true. Like, I feel like it's way easier to explain this than like the concept of streaming in general. Just because it's so weird how many like people just like can't fathom it.
Yeah.
Like my daddy, I remember because I used to really be into Minecraft. I still like Minecraft, don't get me wrong, but I got my account in like like December of 2012 because I was sick and I wanted it for Christmas, but I was sick at the time and I couldn't go to school and it was a snow day. And so I remember asking, like, can I have it now? And so my parents gave it to me.
Oh.
And so I've been playing for a long time, but I remember like I used to watch like Sky Does Minecraft, all of like the big Minecraft guys at the time, and my dad just had no idea. He didn't fully understand like the appeal of like watching somebody else play a video game as a video. He understands live streaming it because it's like you're kind of there, you're seeing it happen, you're watching it
It's
live,
like
but
a
like
sporting event at that point.
he couldn't understand like just watching videos of it. So I feel like the concept of streaming to somebody who it doesn't make sense to in general is very difficult to explain. Hold on, I'm getting a phone call. Hello? Oh, Mrs. J? Oh, hi. Yeah, did you know that your son interviews anime girls on the internet? Wanted to give you a heads up. Thank you. Bye. There you go, brother. I just got the horn powder out the way for you.
Yeah. Like I said, if and when that happens, I'm sure it's going to be, fortunately, a relatively easy conversation. I think the funnier thing will be me sort of revealing to them that I have kept this hidden under their nose for what will have been at least 3 years.
Which is so funny. That's real funny. Plus, it'll be cool because you know that it happened for a good reason, like a charity thing.
And that's the thing of why I'd be super comfortable doing it. That it's never been a thing that I've been hiding because I'm embarrassed or don't think they'd understand. It's just, it started off as, all right, I'm going to do this thing for myself and have it as just a happy secret. And then when I started having, like I said, initially as a gag for charity, now it's just become a thing, and that part of it is easier because I don't live with my parents, so they don't need to wonder why just once a week or so I disappear for a couple of hours and am, in a pillow and blanket fort sound booth
in the closet
talking to myself. Yes.
No, your parents start going to like support groups. They're like, our son he just goes into his closet, talks to himself for like 2 hours. What's happening? Does anybody else's kid do this? You're like Walter White.
The answer would be yes. Many people do this, but that's entirely separate.
You're like Walter White with Skylar. Like, where do you go? It's like you would never understand. Skylar, you would never understand.
But yes, VTubing and just the entire scene, it's been really fun and cool to see the rise of all of this. And I've said to folks in the past, and I suppose it's even more thematically appropriate now, I still think we're in the Wild West of it all. That it feels like VTubing has been around for forever, but this is what, year 3 of it being really big in the West, and even if you include, the amount of time that it's been bigger in Japan, that it's only been in the last 4 or 5 years that it has become sort of publicly accessible, that even going back as far as Keys and I, that you couldn't be a VTuber in the early days of Keys and I if you didn't have a $10,000 special rig
Oh my
and,
gosh, I know it.
all the hardware and stuff. But now it's just you can get Live 2D, and that if you have a phone, you can do VTubing, and that the barrier to entry is so much lower. And the amount of technological growth we've seen in the past 2-3 years is staggering, that we couldn't imagine the stuff we have now 3-4 years ago, and we can't imagine now what we'll have in 2-3 years.
I mean, I've only made a single model, and it was like a little doodly model, but I remember like whenever I got my very first model and seeing it rigged, like even still now, like it messes me up, like it trips me out, like the fact that it's like that's something that people can do. And like I'll see all these like riggers and such putting like their stuff out on Twitter, like this is what I like a showcase,
Like
and I'm just
actual
like
wizards.
it blows my mind because it's so impressive. And even though like I've been doing this for like a little over 2 years, like, it still shocks me whenever new stuff like that happens, because it's just so wild. It doesn't seem like it should be real. Like it doesn't it. And even though like again, and on a tiny scale, like it was really hard, and I didn't do anything nearly as good as like what a lot of people can do. And so I don't know, it's just wild. It's just really crazy that I think that you're right. I think that even though we're in like year probably 3-ish of it being fairly popular over here, I don't think we're at its peak yet. I think that it feels like it because there's just so many. I mean, I remember like being able, not like all of them, but I remember seeing like so-and-so's debuting, and it was like, oh, this is exciting or whatever.
Yeah, it used to be a thing of debuts were a really big deal because
And like
there weren't that
large
many
part of the
yet.
community came, yeah, of like from everywhere, and like everybody that was like, oh, like if you watch VTubers, like you were at so-and-so's debut or whatever. And now it's like there's debuts every day, and it's just like there's so many you can barely keep up with now.
But at the same time, that things have grown across the board, that while it doesn't necessarily feel like, oh, the community shows up for every debut, that you look at numbers, the number of, not only have the number of VTubers increased, but the number of people watching VTubers has
Oh
also
yeah.
increased just as much, if not more.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it's wild. It's definitely been super interesting kind of watching it, like the phases it's gone through, because it's gone through a lot. It's like watching it's like watching the baby grow up,
Yeah. And so you mentioned Doodle Bess. Can you showcase Doodle Bess here?
Yeah,
Because this is your
get
own
her
work.
out.
I want you to be able to show off the wonderful creation you made.
Get her out.
It's so good. I love that it's not just the cute sort of crayon model, but then that you have the actual sheet of paper that pops in behind it.
Yeah. Doodle Bess is you had some time on your break at work, and you found a scratch piece of notebook paper and doobled and kept it in your pocket, and what's up? She's a real goober.
Yes.
It was super fun to make. It was really weird because I knew that I could not like do straight lines or like I could not commit to a line, okay? I have a hard time committing to lines when I do art. So I was like, oh, like a doodly kind of style will be perfect, because like then it don't gotta be perfect, and I'll just stick her on a sheet of paper. And yeah, it took me maybe like 3 days total, like to do the art, and then to learn some rigging, and then fully rig it. But she don't got that many parts to her, which is why it wasn't that hard.
You can actually just. I'm looking at the model and thinking, all right, I can count the number of shapes here, but like you said, this is a feature, not a bug, of just how simple, and it's very cute.
Thanks. Yeah, I like her. She's real. She's got charm. She's got
Lots of
she's got
charm.
soul to her.
Mm-hmm.
So when are you getting a model? When are you getting some kind of little something?
That's been a thing folks have asked since day one, and something that I have actively, that I chose to not have a model. And the reason for that was twofold. One was because I wanted to keep the focus on the guest, and if I have my own model, then it's sort of fighting for attention. And actually, it's sort of threefold. The second part is, and I mentioned this to you before we went live, I ran this show off of a MacBook for the first 2 years, and I was sure that I wouldn't be able to run VTube Studio plus stream the thing and retain my frames anyways. The third part, I just have no inspiration whatsoever for a model.
You gotta get you like a little emote of like a little peak, and you just sit in the corner.
The funny thing is, the last goal that we accomplished during the second anniversary charity marathon, well, first off, I ran out of goals that I had thought of except for Call Parents, which was the $10,000 one. Otherwise, I only had up to $5,000 planned. So when we blew past that, I started scrambling and asking folks in chat, all right, name some goals, and if I think it sounds feasible, I'll add it in. We're going to do this in real time.
Yeah.
And someone said, make a VTuber Talk mascot. And I said, sure, fine, whatever. I'll figure out something. And lo and behold, like an hour later, we hit $6,000.
Goodness gracious.
So that is one of the last things I still need to do. That, and I need to do a Elden Ring stream, which is probably going to happen actually in the next 2 weeks.
Oh, an Elden Ring stream.
And I have not played a Souls-like game since Dark Souls 1, which I played exactly one time at a friend's house. So it's going to be me dying a lot.
Oh, Dark Souls 1 is phenomenal. Oh, I love that game. I sobbed at the end of it. I had to end stream. I planned on playing like some more Halo or whatever, but I had to stop because I was just like blubbering.
But yes, so I have committed to getting a VTuber Talk mascot at the very least. And I've been working on some basic concepts of it, not art, but just, brainstorming, all right, what the heck would I want? Because, well, I hadn't put any real thought into it prior to, having that charity marathon and then hitting that goal of like, oh, crap. Well, this is a thing I need to do, and I need to figure out what I'm going to do for it.
Yeah.
And there is the possibility in the back of my mind of, okay, while I'm at it, do I want to just plan to have it rigged in that way, if I want to, that I can be the mascot, and that can
just
be
have the
my
option
model.
there.
Yeah, and I am admittedly leaning toward that. It's going to take a while, and it'll probably take more if I go that route with the rigging and everything. But that's probably going to end up being the answer of, if I get a model, that it will just be that. I still don't plan to get a, full human person host.
No, you got to get a
thing.
3D model with a full body tracking suit and all of it.
But yeah, that's probably how that'll happen. So we'll see. And now I'm actually having to start looking around. All right, what artists would do it. Unfortunately, the concept I have at play is going to be something relatively simple. So it's more of finding somebody that I think has the style, because I know there's more than enough artists out there that are capable. That there's so many talented artists in the community. It is mind-boggling.
Hard to pick between. Well, you could just do what Blossom said and make your mascot just being a hyper-realistic pair of lips.
I'm not going to go with the Rocky Horror lips answer, no. I'll say Hollow Flux is a lot closer to the idea of a living microphone.
That's cool. That would be neat.
That I'm the current, top idea that I have, and I could still think of other things, but the working concept is, sort of not an anthropomorphic microphone, but a
That's
very
a good
sort
word.
of chibi microphone where just it's a normal microphone, but you have sort of the googly eyes on it, maybe a little bow tie or something. So very simple. But that's
cool.
where I'm at right now.
That's exciting. That's real neat. I think that'd be real good.
Yeah, so, and we'll see. Who knows?
Who knows? Oh, hello, Dad.
Oh, hello, Cow Dad. Welcome on in.
This dude talking to an odd cow.
We were actually talking about you earlier, and Bessie's origin story.
My origin story. He was there from the beginning.
Yeah, so not going with the moving lips, so that's a little bit weird there. But so when it comes to media and different things, you've mentioned a couple of different ones you like. One thing that I didn't expect you to be into that you mentioned to me, that you're a fan of Repo the Genetic Opera, and that's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
I do like Repo the Genetic Opera. It's a good movie. It's got the jams.
So for those who might not be familiar with it, because it is certainly a cult classic, but I feel like it's fallen a little bit out of pop culture in the past several years. Do explain to the good folks watching at home, what is Repo the Genetic Opera?
So Repo is kind of like, it's a movie, but it's an opera at the same time. But it's like cool, like industrial music. It's like a goth opera story or whatever. So there's maybe a handful of times where they're talk to each other, but even just talking, a lot of times they're like singing. So, but it's really, really cool. It's about like it's like this what is it? This company. Oh man, what is the company called? It's Roddy Largo, but I don't remember the name of the company. I do. Gene Co. Yeah, there it is. Gene Co. Cow Dad also showed this movie to me. Yeah. But yeah, it's this company Gene Co. and like plastic surgery becomes like the hip new thing, and so like everybody wants to get plastic surgery, but everyone can afford it. So like they'll sign a contract with you or whatever where you can get all the plastic surgery done, but if you don't pay it back within X amount of time,
they're gonna
the repo man.
But
Yeah, the repo man comes from
unlike, all right, you don't pay for your house, so your house gets repossessed. You have a liver transplant, and they're going to repossess your liver, and that means that a surgeon's going to come to your house and remove your liver. They're not going to put in a new
not
one
remove. Yeah, no, not remove. He just takes it from you. I remember, like in the opening scene, the guy takes the spine back, and the repo man takes the guy's spine, and on the base of the vertebrae, there's like a little Gene Co. Like barcode, and I was always like, oh gosh, that's where we're headed.
It is a very dystopian thing. The thing that I remember most about it is that the leading actress was the girl from Spy Kids.
Yeah, I love the girl. And Paris Hilton's in it.
I forgot about that one.
She is, yeah. Paris Hilton and her, and it's so odd.
Yeah, and it's just it's this extremely campy, crazy movie. Like I said, it's a cult classic. I found out about it from friends that were into the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and what made me think of Repo, the connection there from somebody mentioning talking
the lips.
Yeah, it was just that's how my mind sort of linked those together. But it's a very unique and wild one. I know they actually made, I forget what it was called, but there was a more gritty, realistic movie some years after Repo about a similar concept of, people getting surgeries but then having those organs repossessed, and it was sort of funny to think, all right, this very campy, silly thing did it first and beat them by like 5 years.
Yeah. I mean, it's great. I remember, like, it's the music in it's really cool, and it's all done super well. And like, I mean, literally, like the other day, like I was driving to work and I just had the soundtrack on, and I'm like it's so good. It's just a good movie. I like that movie a lot. Yeah, and it has Bill Moseley in it too.
I don't think I actually knew that one. Huh.
Yeah, he's what is he? He's one of the brothers. He's not Pavi, but he's the other brother. And because Pavi and him and then Paris Hilton, they're all Amber Sweet. They're all siblings, and they're fighting over who gets Gene Co. whenever the dad dies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, you like some darker stuff in general, which is kind of ironic to your branding. That you're a very happy, cheerful cowgirl. Right now, we're using the lovely Windows XP background for the sunny sky and fields. But you really enjoy horror and a lot of different ones. And obviously, Texas Chainsaw Massacre being both thematic and otherwise of just, when you mentioned it, was like, of course, Bessie likes Chainsaw Massacre. Of course she does.
Yeah, I'm into horror movies. Yeah, like my dad, there was like there used to be this little horror convention that would come through. We'd have to travel a little far for it, like a couple hours, but it was cool because we used to go. And I actually ended up meeting, like my dad saying, Ogre from Skinny Puppy and stuff, who's Pavi. I ended up meeting him and Bill Moseley and like the chick from The Exorcist and like all other kinds of like all horror movie convention stuff. Like it's super cool. Yeah, it was a good time. I don't know. I've always kind of liked horror movies just because I think that my parents from a young age taught me, like, they would let me watch horror movies when I was not like too young, but like fairly young. And if I started getting freaked out, they would like pause it and they're like, hey, like, why are you getting freaked out? I'm like, well, this is scary. They're like, yeah, but like, it's not real. So like, if I watched a scary movie, the deal was that I had to go to sleep in my own bed, and like, I couldn't make a fool or anything because like, I knew it wasn't real.
Yeah.
So they did a good job, like, making sure I wasn't too scared. But I've always watched horror movies. Like, I really liked all the Saw movies and stuff when I was, like, 13. But yeah,
horror's never really been my jam in that I've never had the problem mentally differentiating, fantasy from reality. That I've never had the issue of like when I've seen a horror movie worried about it, being real or like having trouble sleeping that night. It's just for whatever reason, when I'm consuming media, that type of stress and tension isn't really an enjoyable experience to me.
That's fair.
That's just how I sort of operate. At the same time, I wind up with this fascination with horror films because I love mysteries, and a lot of horror is built off of mystery of, who did it, what's the monster, or, is the monster real, or is it a fabrication in some way? So while I don't watch a lot of horror films or series, I'll read up on Wikipedia the synopses of horror films because that's how I'm able to consume it and have a good time. That the Saw franchise is a lot of these different mind games and puzzles, and
you soiled it for yourself.
No, well, I figure if I don't consume it that way, I'm not going to end up watching it at all. So I'd rather be able to appreciate it in this admittedly removed and incomplete fashion than not be able to appreciate it at all.
No, that makes sense. Yeah. No, I don't know. Part of the experience, part of the fun is like watching it and like being and like figuring it out and stuff. But I can also understand like just cutting to the chase. That's kind of what my dad does sometimes. If he doesn't want to end up watching a full movie, he's like, yeah, like I'll just read about it or whatever.
Well, I don't do that if it's a film that I know that I want to legitimately see. That it's not a matter of impatience and wanting to cut to the chase. Like I said, it's just because since I don't enjoy horror as a genre, that's my way of sort of bypassing the that stress and tension of watching that I don't really enjoy. But if there's a mystery film that I want to see, even if I know I can't see it right away, I will wait. I'm very good at waiting and avoiding spoilers of things I know I want to see. I'm only
terrible
for
at
stuff
patience.
It's only for horror that I have that sort of, like you said, it is a bit of a cheat there, but like I said, it's only because I know I wouldn't have it at all otherwise.
Yeah, Cat has pointed out, when I was like 7, I was obsessed with the Van Helsing movie.
I remember that was a fun one. It's a dumb movie, but it's a fun movie.
I mean, I couldn't even tell you the amount of times I watched that movie. Like, I watched it all the time. I wanted to be the cool vampire girls. I was like, dude, that's so awesome. They're like Dracula's wives or whatever, like just awesome or whatever. And like, I was super into vampires growing up. So like, I was super into vampires and zombies. And so my dad one time for my birthday or some kind of, maybe it was my birthday, I don't remember, but he made me like this vampire hunting kit. And it was this cool old box, and like it had wooden stake and a mallet and like rubies or whatever. And then like a map with that was like blah, blah, blah. And then it had like holy water and like all kinds of stuff. Interview with a cowpire. Yeah.
I saw somebody else mention cowpire earlier. Is there a story behind that, or is it just because you enjoy vampires?
Just the pun. And because I was into vampires. I thought it was cool. I did have a kit for everything. Growing up. So you remember like 2012 and everybody thought that the world was going to end?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So it was, I was about 12. And so I was super into zombies at the time. Like, obsessed with zombies. And so I remember I was like, the world's not gonna end, the zombie apocalypse is gonna start. And I'm gonna be honest with you, Jay, at the time I wanted the zombie apocalypse. I was like, this is awesome, I hope it happens. So like my parents, because my birthday is Halloween, so I got a zombie survival kit for my birthday. And then because I was the whole thing of like December 12th, 2012 at midnight was when it was going to happen. So it was like 12. So I'm a little old woman, and so I go to bed early. But
did you set an alarm?
I set an alarm for 11:50 so that I could wake up and be ready for it to start at midnight. And it didn't start.
Here's the thing. If you thought that the zombie apocalypse was going to start, was the concept in your head that patient zero of the zombie apocalypse would be infected and it would go from there, or was it that every cemetery was suddenly going to have all the dead rise
I think it was
simultaneously was
kind
coming.
of both. Like, I thought that, like, so I kind of think that in my head it was like zombies will start coming out the ground or whatever, and then like no one's as ready as I am, like no one's
Yep.
prepared like I am, and then like patient zero, and then it would start. So I thought I had time, which is why I was like, okay, I'm gonna wait until. And like I had a whole plan. I was like, I'm gonna fortify this place. I'm gonna blah blah blah. Like I had all my Nerf guns set up. I was like, I'm ready.
I appreciate the Nerf guns.
And yeah, my zombie survival kit had like an MRE in it and a canteen. Like all, I still have it. But it was I remember being like, thank you guys. Like not only did you guys get me this, but like I'm gonna use this present to keep us safe. It's like I'm ready for this. I played enough Left 4 Dead 2. I was ready. I was always plotting how to. Yup. Well, I was like, okay, listen. But now I've formulated my plan a little bit better because instead of going to Walmart, you go to the distribution centers because everybody's gonna go to the store. But you go to the I've got everything. That's
Now
a
you're
little
thinking
zombie
portals.
apocalypse pro tip. I love that game. But yeah. I was like, I've played enough Left 4 Dead 2. I played as Ellis. I've got out the mall with all of the gas cans. Like I'm ready. I've got this. I can protect my whole family.
Yeah, and sadly, the apocalypse that we had in 2020 wasn't quite zombies.
It was nowhere as cool.
No,
No, this was like a real letdown. I was like way more excited about the zombie thing.
Yeah, at least that would have been a little bit more eventful, I suppose. But
yeah, I was
But hey,
super
it
into
led to
Resident
VTubing.
Evil. It
at
did
least it
lead
led
to
to VTubing.
I was super into Resident Evil movies too, so I was like, okay, like this is how we're gonna do it. Blah blah blah. I did all my research. I'm ready.
Mhm. I know you also enjoy The Walking Dead, and I forget that Walking Dead has just ended, correct? Or is it just about to? I forget.
No, yeah, it's ended. I think they're gonna do spin-offs because I just rewatched it.
There were several spin-offs, and I know several were active. I don't know if they got finished though.
Yeah, I think they're starting some kind of one with like some of the characters that were left or whatever. But I never ended up finishing The Walking Dead whenever it came out because I was like, this sucks. I'm bored. But then I just recently started to rewatch it and put it on in the background while I was at work and stuff, and I just finished it like a couple weeks ago. It's pretty good. It was long. It's too long.
that is the other thing that I watched the first season with some friends, and it was like it's okay. I just that while I don't love horror, that Walking Dead I don't really consider horror. That's a drama.
Yeah,
that is a human drama happening in the midst of a zombie apocalypse.
That I could agree with.
But it just, for whatever reason, didn't grab me in the way that it grabbed others. But hey, I'm glad other people enjoyed it.
Yeah, the first season was definitely the season.
Now, one thing that you told me that you've been pretty open about on your own channel is that you work at a church. And that you mentioned you watch Walking Dead. So I guess... is it at all weird to have, this zombie horror show on in the background while you're working at a church?
No, I just put on headphones and have it on my phone. But the ladies I work with, one of them is my age, and then one of them is in her 50s. And they're very normal people. So, I mean, they even know that I do VTubing. They don't watch me, but they know. I actually put VTubing on my resume.
Yeah,
but
you
not
mentioned
VTubing.
that it helped you get your job.
Yeah, it did, because I do, like, media marketing for my church and everything. But I remember my interview process, like, on my resume, I did have, like, Twitch partner on there or whatever. And that definitely helped, because,
Was that something that you had to explain to them? Because while parents might understand, that's not something that necessarily every employer is going to understand.
So all of the coworkers that I work, all my cow workers, they're all, the average age I would say is like in their 50s. But thankfully my boss is cool and hip, and he's really cool. But he knows what streaming is. Like all of them know what like video game streaming is, just because it's such a big thing now. They all don't understand like the VTubing aspect, but I never really like explained like, oh, I do VTubing. I just say that like I'm a virtual streamer.
That the difference in skill set for what that type of job would entail doesn't really overlap with VTubing, but there's a lot of overlap for streaming in general. So it makes sense that you'd be focusing on that aspect, and that would be the pertinent information to make sure that they know about.
Yeah, and back to like the Walking Dead stuff at work. Like I just put on headphones and everything, and like I just have it on in the background while I'm like doing emails and all kinds of stuff and doing graphic design or whatever. But they know, because like sometimes like well, especially because Right now I'm watching Walking Dead, or not Walking Dead, Breaking Bad. So I went from Walking Dead with zombies to meth cooking, and yeah, it's fine. But yeah, they're like, oh, how's Breaking Bad? I'm like, oh, it's good. He's making meth right now.
I
It's like, that's great.
Similar to Walking Dead, I watched the first couple seasons of Breaking Bad, and I thought it was okay, but
Interesting.
I really enjoy the anime and manga Death Note, and I just saw Death Note done not as well in Breaking Bad in the aspect of it is a show about a person with initially good intentions who spirals into villainy, and that
Yeah.
it's a lot of mental cat and mouse games between the anti-hero really and law enforcement and the different characters in them trying to keep their secret, that I saw a lot of overlap there, and I love Death Note, and I was like, Breaking Bad is just Death Note with meth, and it's longer
It's
and has
Meth Note.
hadn't actually thought of that one. That's really good. And just that I looked at that and said, I think folks, that since Death Note, at least in the West, isn't that big, that it's that type of story that a lot of folks hadn't seen. And I think if I hadn't seen Death Note, I probably would have enjoyed Breaking Bad more. So in its own way, I was happy to see Breaking Bad do well because I was like, all right, I like this type of story in general. And if Breaking Bad's success can help that type of story become more popular, then I'm all for it. Plus, there was just a couple of really good acting performances at Bryan Cranston, but also Giancarlo Esposito. That I've seen all of the Gus
Which
Fring
one's that one? Oh, Gus.
that I've seen all the Gus
Yeah.
Fring scenes just because I think his performance as Gus Fring is really good, and obviously that has
It's
led
very
to
good.
him being effectively typecast as a villain. But hey, in Hollywood, if you can get typecast, that means you're doing something really
Yeah.
well. So
Los Pollos Hermanos. Yeah. He just, well, the point I'm in right now is he just came in and, yeah, he just got, I like him. It's a good, yeah. But I can understand, like, if you kind of feel like, like, this is just gonna be, like, fleshy Death Note, but with meth. I can understand being like, nah, this is gonna kind of like, whatever. There have been a few, there have been some shows that, like, I kind of feel this, I'm like, this is just gonna be, like, the same show, different packaging. So I could understand that.
yeah,
I do be understanding.
Now, when it comes to anime, I know that you do watch a fair bit, but that you
Let me crack my knuckles.
Yep, here we go. Because you mentioned this to me when we spoke earlier in the week, that you have some very hot takes about a quote unquote controversial show, that being Trigger's Darling the Franxx.
I really do. I'm so I'm so sorry to everybody who's gonna be all like, and that's fine, and you can do that. Darling and Franxx, if I even hear the intro music, I cry. I start
First off,
crying.
the intro music, Kiss of Death, is incredible. I
It's so
had that
good.
thing on loop when the show was airing. It's so
It's
good.
so good. I mean,
and I don't
it's
think that there's
phenomenal.
any disagreement about that. That even the folks that don't like the show appreciate the opening, I think.
Yeah. It's very so okay, so basically like 23 years ago my parents had me, and I'm a carbon copy of my father. My dad showed me Darling in the Franxx. He watched it first and he was super into it. He's like, this is really good or whatever. And then we watched it together, and that was really nice. And it was really cool. But I ended up getting him a 02 body pillow for Christmas that year.
Also, one sec, got a ban incessant orc.
Oh no, wait! I thought it was probably because everybody. I'm stupid. I'm dumb. I'm bad takes. Whatever. Yeah, that's what. Sure. Yeah, Franxx is better than. Yeah, my dad does like it. He does prefer it to Neon Genesis.
Yeah, my hot take when it comes to Neon Genesis Evangelion is that it is fine. That I think part of why I don't like it is I'm not a big fan of Monster of the Week shows, and that's what 90% of Neon Genesis Evangelion is. That yes, they have, the very slowly advancing storyline, but I feel like it, as was pretty common with shows in that day, that Cowboy Bebop is another example that I think
Cowboy Bebop.
I think that show is great, but in general, the main story happens over the course of 5-6 episodes. The other 20 are just,
Filler.
villain of the week filler, and they're fun. They're all good. I think that all the episodes of Neon Genesis Evangelion are fine. There's one or two that I didn't love, but it's fine. But I don't think that I think the reason it is so transcendent is because of when it was. And that you see that for media in general, that the first to do something really well and really set those standards. And I acknowledge its historical significance for the standards it set and the things that it did better than anyone else up to that point. But I think since then that it has aged, and not aged super poorly, but just in the sense that a lot of other shows have done what it did as well, if not better.
No, and I understand that. I will say that as far as like kind of like what you mentioned about Cowboy Bebop and everything, and like how, it takes over 5 episodes or so, I would say that personally, I enjoy that. I like that. I think that that's because I feel like shows nowadays and everything, like something crazy has to be happening every single episode, action packed, big money, cool effects. I kind of enjoy like slow, like filler, or kind of just like, I like whenever shows take their time, even if it is quote like filler or boring or whatever, unnecessary. I kind of like that little bit of like, no, we're going to take our time with this. Like, we're going to build this up or whatever. Because, sure, you can squeeze a lot of animes into, like, 12 episodes or whatever. But a lot of them are 24. And it's because they take stuff slow and stuff. I like that more than, like, big bada boom or whatever.
I don't think every episode needs to have, the big, crazy, climactic scenes. But I want every episode to mean something. I want there to be...
That is true.
I don't want it to just be a day at the beach and that this...
No, dude, you have to have the beach episode.
Well, here's the thing. Hold on. I want to be clear on this. That I don't want it to just be a day at the beach where it's a bunch of silly things, and at the end of the day, yay, we had a silly day at the beach. If we're going to go to the beach, that's fine. I have no problem with beach episodes, but I want to have some sort of payoff. And you get that in Darling in the Franxx, that during their beach episode, they go into that city and find the book. And I'm just going to say the book because I don't want to spoil for folks who haven't seen it yet, but there is meaning to that episode, that the episode itself is not filler, but they were still able to sort of, check that box of, all right, we had a beach episode, but there was narrative payoff for it. And that's what I look for.
They don't need the beach episode, they need the baseball episode. But no, yeah, like with Darling in the Franxx, like I like that show, like genuinely, I can tell you, like, changed the way I see like my perspective of a lot of things, like, and I know that because it's so difficult to talk about without like spoiling stuff, you know what I mean? But I mean, that show, I cried so hard. Like, if I watch it with anybody, if anytime I rewatch it, and I've probably seen it like seven or so times, I have to like tell my parents, like, hey, by the way, I'm gonna be rewatching this, so whenever I'm in a funk for the next
crying,
3 days,
then nothing's wrong.
Oh,
I'm okay.
So loud. I sobbed during it, and it's just, I feel like it just sheds such a good, like, because it's difficult because a lot of people think it's like, oh, like sex and blah 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 or whatever, like all big mech or whatever, but it's like way cooler than that and way deeper than that, and it's hard to.
It touches a lot of themes that you don't get in a lot of series.
It's so good. It's wholesome. It is wholesome. I know that contrary to the way that it is visualized, but even then, like, I do genuinely believe it is one of the most wholesome shows that I've seen. Like, it's so good.
Trigger does that a lot. Have you seen Kill la Kill?
Mm-mm. But okay. I have seen a lot of like stuff. Like I've seen a lot of like clips of it and stuff in reels.
Well, I will say that Kill la Kill is very similar to Darling in the Franxx in that if you look at it on its surface, that it has a lot of ecchi elements and that it looks like it's just there for the fan service, but that beneath that surface level, that there is something functional and narrative about how all the different things come together, and that it has a message about it, and that those two shows are done by the same studio. So when I saw that it's a tangential similarity that the series themselves are both very different for sure. But when I saw those elements in Darling in the Franxx, I actually was just inherently more excited and less worried about it just being surface level, because I knew that they had already done a show that took similar themes and used them well.
Yeah. it's just it's a great show. It's hard when your favorite show is one that you can't watch a lot without crying.
Mhm.
But it's really good. I like that show. That show had a lot of impact on like a lot of stuff. I have a little 02 headband. I got a little light up thing on my desk. I like it. It's a good show.
And Studio Trigger is a very, they're one of the most renowned studios in the industry, I would say. And
Good art.
I think a lot of it is that they suffer a bit from Pixar syndrome, where they're known for doing a lot of incredible things, and that a bad quote-unquote show for them is a good to great show for almost any other studio, and that a lot of folks hold Darling the Franxx as lower tier for Trigger, and therefore I think judge it a bit harshly.
Yeah.
I also think there's a couple things about the series that I can understand why some folks find it a bit weird. I'm not going to call it a perfect series. I won't call my favorite series a perfect series. But at the same time, I think that it gets more flack than it should by a very significant margin.
I think so too, because yeah, I remember like even just saying the words "Darling in the Franxx," people were like, bad take, terrible, it dropped, I hate it, oh, it's so bad, I can't believe you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, you guys are so childish. So, it's judging such
it's a fun one. It's only 24, 26 episodes. It's not super long. That it's definitely one I recommend that folks give a chance.
I think so, and I think I remember I watched it in my server with a couple people, and it was very difficult to, like, the people I ended up watching it with, they all loved it. They all now even say, like, it's one of their favorite animes, even just, like, in show, but it took me a while to break down that, like, dude, like, I know that you've heard stuff about it, I know that you have heard, like, all of the negative takes, like, but go into this with an open mind and, like, just, like, let it be what it's gonna be. And it took a while. It took until, like, episode probably 13 or so to get, like, those people, because they were like, this show looks so dumb, blah, blah, blah. But then by the end, I mean, we're all in a VC crying together at, like, 2 a.m. But it was really, really good. But yeah,
honestly,
it's hard to,
looks
like, break
dumb,
down.
But ends with you crying, I think can be used to describe at least half of Trigger's shows.
That's fair.
And like, even ones prior to them being Triggered back when they were Gainax, that you look at Gurren Lagann, very similar in that regard.
Oh yeah. Yep. But yeah, that is my hot and spicy take. That is my hot and spicy McTake. That is my hot and spicy McTake.
Well, speaking of food, I know you've been getting into cooking lately.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot more like making all my food from home and stuff. Instead of eating. Don't get me wrong, I did have Chick-fil-A today. I still do treat myself. But yeah, I had some I had some recent like dietary changes and stuff for like health reasons, and I've been drinking like crazies, like smoothies in the morning, and making like all like pancakes and waffles from home, and like chicken and pulled pork and all kinds of stuff. Like I remember bringing my smoothie to work one day, and my boss said it was lawn clippings, because he was like, "What's in that?" And I was like, "Oh, like banana, protein powder, chia seed, spinach, flaxseed, hemp hearts, all blah blah blah," or whatever. He's like, "Oh, this like sounds like fertilizer." So like, why you put that in your volume?
I enjoy smoothies, but it's the type of thing that, depending on the color, that it can look a lot worse than it tastes, but I don't think I've ever had a bad smoothie.
Yeah, they're mostly, I mean, it's like, I feel like a lot of it is not even the additives, because you can put a lot of stuff in it. A lot of it is the fruit. Like, your fruit choices and your pairings go, like, because, like, you can't, like,
it's what is the dominant taste? That what is going to be what you really get, and that, obviously, as with any drink or any food, that you can do just different combinations of things, and there's a hint of blueberry in this versus it being all banana, but it's what is that first taste, and also just does it match the color, because sometimes you can have a green smoothie but it tastes like banana, and just add that with the consistency of a smoothie, that it is a bit of a weird food concoction in just the way that it presents itself, I suppose.
Yeah, I do a lot of chocolate peanut butter banana.
I'm a big fan of chocolate fruit, just chocolate strawberry, chocolate banana. It's all good.
There's this really good peanut butter I've been using. It's called RX butter or whatever, and it's the chocolate peanut butter one. And it's so good. Because I make chocolate peanut butter banana smoothie, so it just adds a lot of like chocolatey flavor.
Mm.
But yeah, I'm a big fan of cooking and baking. I don't do baking, not bacon. I actually don't like bacon. But I'm into like I like making like loaves of bread and like I like making like cupcakes and I love making brownies. I've been making these like almond flour brownies lately, which are super good, and like adding protein powder in them and like all different kinds of stuff. So, gains. I'm trying to get ripped, trying to bust out my Daisy Dukes and just like shredded, you know.
And I'm a big fan of brownies. That growing up, my siblings and I, we wouldn't ask for cakes. We would ask for brownies and blondies.
Oh, that's actually really cool. Brownies they're an essential, a good because like brownies in general, I mean, I've personally never had a bad brownie, but a good brownie is something special. Like it's noticeable. Like it's kind of like pizza. Like there's not really bad pizza. Like I haven't never had pizza that I'm like, oh, I can't eat this, but exceptionally
but there's a
good
difference between
pizza.
just good pizza and fine pizza. So what is your ideal brownie? Because I fully agree. There's a lot of different types of brownies, and I think the main question for anyone is, how well done do you want them?
Oh, like not a lot. I want them fudgy. I like them. I like fudgy brownies.
Thank you. Yes, that I always want them to be just, gooey in the center.
Yep.
That
eat from the middle out.
That I don't. The only, or perhaps the closest thing I've had to a bad brownie is one that was just overdone and dry.
Fully cooked, terrible.
Yeah,
terrible.
And it's similar to steak. It's similar to meat that you want it.
I'm sorry,
medium.
what? It's similar to what?
Steaks like fish steaks that when you have a fillet of fish that is sometimes called a steak.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Yeah, fillet of steak fish steak.
Yeah,
okay.
Fish or chicken, stuff like that. That you want it to be, still juicy on the inside. That you don't want it to be completely dry.
Yeah. Cow Dad really likes the edges of brownies, and so that works out great because me and my mama, we like the inside, like the soft ones, and then we just literally eat we'll just take from and then he gets the outside ones.
Hey,
I don't understand people that like fully cooked cakey brownies. I'm like, just eat a chocolate cake at that point.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Super crispy brownie.
I actually had some good brownies just the other day. So
did you? Were they homemade or?
No. So this is potentially a food hot take. CC's Pizza. Best thing they do is their brownies.
I haven't been to a CC's Pizza in a really long time, but I do think if I remember correctly, they were pretty good. But I was also like 7, so like all sugar was good.
Yeah, that they have really good fudgy brownies. And you talk about pizza of just CC's Pizza certainly is nothing to write home about. That this is not good or stellar pizza, but it's fine. But the brownies are solid.
You want to know what pizza is really good? Just good old-fashioned Little Caesars pizza. It's good pizza. I like it.
Oh yeah, the Little Caesars hits that comfort spot of just it's nothing that's gonna be gourmet. You're not gonna have anything special, but it's very reliable.
It literally takes me back to like pool parties and class parties and stuff. It's just good. There's nothing wrong with I hate people who I had this one friend who thought she was too good for Chili's, the restaurant, and I'm like, you're not above this. What do you mean? This is
good
fine
for any restaurant.
Yeah.
I raise my eyebrow at you a little bit.
Aw. The rock, you get the rock face.
He's like,
no, but yeah, I'm like, I don't know. People have their especially now that I'm more into eating healthier and stuff, I will say I don't personally eat that kind of stuff anymore. Or if I do, it's kind of rare occasions. But setting that aside, I don't understand why people think that food has to be this magical experience every single time. Food should be good, and you should have good quality ingredient, all kinds of stuff. But if you're talking about, hey, we're gonna go pick up pizza, you're not above. You're not above.
You know
Little
what
Caesars.
you're getting
Who
with
are
pizza,
you?
and it's not healthy.
Yeah. No, and it's like you can. I mean, I like now I make like gluten-free pizzas and stuff, but I'm like, if we're going to pick up pizza, you better not. I don't want this kind. I want this kind. I was like, you can have preferences, but you are not above. It's just like it's like Little Caesars or like Chili's. Like you're not above these restaurants. So like
you can absolutely say, all right, this pizza's better than this pizza, or this restaurant's better than that restaurant. That there's objective truth in this, but I'm just saying, there's very few instances, like unless there is a dietary restriction at play, that if it's food, then like you said, not everything has to be 5 stars, and that I don't go out and I think one of the biggest things for me that I learned in just 2020 and 2021 of eating in and making my own stuff, or just things like smoothies, that I usually have a protein drink or two a day, and that was my hack during the early months of 2020 when a lot of folks were like raiding grocery stores, is that health and protein shakes aren't in the grocery aisle, they're in the pharmacy aisle, and nobody ever went there. So I was able to get these protein shakes, and that was just, I was still getting other normal food, but that was just my go-to of, if I'm lazy,
at the noggin on this guy.
If I don't want to bother making breakfast, or I'm in a rush, that I can pick up just, this thing, and usually it's $1 or $2 each, and it's gonna, at least in terms of nutrition, serve the purpose of a meal. So efficient for time, efficient for money, and like I said, it was something that was always in stock because nobody went to the pharmacy aisle for that.
Yeah. Hot, a little bit of a hot take back to like the 5-star thing. I think that like people that do kind of stuff like that, I think that, I don't know, I feel like this is no longer about pizza, but I feel like looking for 5-star experiences at all times like sets you up for such bad, like it extends to food and like going out and like concerts and dating and all kinds of stuff. Like people are always searching for like the highest level of dopamine, and sometimes I'm like, I'm cool with like no dopamine in this experience. Like I'm down to have like a subpar experience, I would even say. I'm down to have a bad experience.
A lot of it comes down to expectations as well, that if you are going out and you are expecting to get fast food level stuff, and that if you're expecting to get Little Caesars, that's going to be a comfort food and you're going to enjoy that. You're going to not enjoy it if you're going out thinking you're going to get something gourmet, super fancy. But of just, like you said, not going out looking for 5-star stuff all the time, that if you go out and say, all right, I'm going to go with just something simple and comfort food, that then you're still enjoying it, in my opinion, as much as you're going to enjoy a 5-star experience, because that's what you're looking for at that time.
It's all about like not even just, it is your expectation, but your just perspective of stuff too. Like just shifting your kind of like, well, this is the day and this is the time and this is the weather. Like I really wanted to go to, the beach, and I wanted it to be hot, and I wanted it to like be a nice day and sunny and blah, 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 but it rained. Well, that's okay, but like you can't be like, and you can't go out in the rain being expecting like a sunny beach day. Like you kind of have to just shift like your perspective and make the best of things. You know what I mean? Like, like I want fast food pizza or whatever. It's like, okay, well, the best fast food pizza would be this, or like, but if you get like Little Caesars, or it's okay. It's kind of like people that go to fast food like restaurants or like the drive-through, and you ask for like a hamburger. Not that I do that ever. I'm not accountable. But you ask for like a hamburger with like no onion or whatever, and then it's like rush hour or whatever, and then you get onion. Like you are allowed to be upset about it. But the people that make it like such a big deal, it's like, well, you knew you were going to McDonald's, and you knew that you were like. What were you expected? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think you should expect like poor service, but like you have to assess the situation.
And just, you can say, pardon me, I asked for no onions. Could I please have another?
Yeah.
That you don't need to be rude of, how dare you? I asked for no onions.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. That you can be dissatisfied and ask for it to be done right. That's fine.
Aren't really well adjusted to their surroundings, like in that sense. They're not good at assessing situations and being like, okay, like I wanted it to go this way, but it didn't, and it's unfortunate that it didn't go this way. But it is going the way that it's going now, and I can either get with the program or like be left behind, and then like I'm the weird
program,
one out of the group.
Do what you can to improve the situation, and whether that be all right, rearrange the plans, or take an extra minute and politely ask that your order be redone. That you just roll with it, and that there was a small stumbling block, and maybe plans change. You can figure it out. There are answers. And that
I ain't throwing you no pity party, I can tell you that much. I'm sick of buying all these banners for these pity parties. Too many RSVPs. Please, stop coming to them.
Yeah, we already lost track of all the VTuber debuts. We can't keep track of the pity parties.
Exactly. No, yeah, but Little Caesars, fine pizza, fine establishment. It's not hot and ready no more, I will say. That is my complaint about it, but it is still good pizza. The crazy bread is crazy.
I haven't had the crazy bread in ages.
The garlic dipping sauce.
My hot take on pizza is, yes, pineapple pizza is amazing. And if you don't like pineapple on pizza, that's fine. I'll eat yours for you.
You know what? Okay. I'm going to see how you react to this hot take, and then I will judge your hot take accordingly. Mint chocolate chip ice cream.
Love it.
Okay, I don't like pineapple on pizza, but I respect you because you like mint chocolate chip ice cream.
Yeah, I have a respect. I respect folks that don't like pineapple on pizza, and I think it's that not everybody likes pineapple. I think that's the thing of just pineapple in and of itself is a offbeat flavor, and if you don't like baseline pineapple, of course you're not going to like pineapple on pizza. That's fine. Like I said, I'll eat yours for you.
Exactly. I don't like toothpaste. I was just about to say, I don't like to eat ice cream that tastes like I'm brushing my teeth. Like, grow up.
Then you're eating the wrong mint chocolate chip ice cream, frankly. If yours tastes like toothpaste, I don't want to eat something that tastes like toothpaste either. Then something's gone wrong with your ice cream.
I did used to eat toothpaste as a kid. I will not tell a lie. And lip gloss.
Oh, dear.
I had this, it was like, the, Aqua Fresh in that weird tube?
Yeah, because it's got the stripes and it looks like candy.
I ate it. I ate it a lot. It was really good. It was so, I still eat toothpaste. I never ate glue. I ate toothpaste and lip gloss, watermelon flavored lip gloss, but I can proudly say that I never ate glue or did what this one kid in second grade did, which was drink the paint water after art class.
Oh, oof.
I don't think that he turned out to be a well-adjusted human being, but that's for another time.
Oh, dear.
I'm like, that water is gray and thick. What are you doing?
It's Rona mentions Brahms. That's something that I forget if that is exclusive to Texas or if it's broader regional. But I didn't have that where I grew up. But I have come to enjoy both Brahms ice cream and their hamburgers. I think Brahms makes one of the best fast food hamburgers out there.
Brahms is in Oklahoma, Kansas, Texas, Missouri, and Arkansas.
Okay, so it is regional.
Okay, but I was like, wait, is Brahms not a thing? I didn't know that Brahms.
At least not over on the East Coast, no.
Cringe East or West Coasters. Cringe not CST Cowgirl Standard Time. How dare you? Terrible. I want some ice cream. I thought you were going to say you want some paint water. What flavor paint water would you drink if you had to?
Flavor paint water.
Or what color? I would think that I would drink the blue one. I would drink blue paint
I'd
water.
probably go with a lighter shade, something that at least resembles candy or another drink that I would already have, like Gatorade or lemonade, something like that, yeah.
Oh, but then you got to drink yellow paint water. No. I feel like
no.
I would.
Good point there. Good point.
Red or blue are really the only options. Pink? Ugh, I don't know. I don't know.
My hot take on Texas things, and this is me, like I said, not being a native Texan, I think Whataburger is fine.
I don't eat Whataburger, a hamburger, but I can tell you that I take offense to that. Take offense. Their spicy ketchup, I stay stocked on. I actually have an order pickup to go pick up some more of it from the local store pretty soon because I love their spicy ketchup so much. Their chicken is good. I like their chicken. But you gotta get on the Whataburger. Next, you're gonna tell me that you're an In-N-Out person.
I think In-N-Out also is fine. I'm mid on both.
You know what, Jay? You're a very reasonable man. I can tell you this. I can tell you that much. You're very reasonable.
If you offer me Whataburger, I will eat it and not complain. I think that's just that, similar to Little Caesars or something, that I think it is good. I think it is fine. I don't think that Whataburger is a transcendent fast food place that some people believe it to be.
That is fair. But, like, it's not, okay. But you have to admit that Buc-ee's is good, right? Like, that's the Texas
no
one.
question. Buc-ee's is amazing.
I love Buc-ee's is the best. I can get over, I can let go of the Whataburger situation. I will forgive you. But yeah, we're on board with the Buc-ee's thing.
Oh, absolutely. That was one that I had heard the hype going in, and it lives up to the hype of just, it is a good place to get gas because there's so many stalls to get gas that you're not going to be waiting. It is a place where you can go in. It's clean. The barbecue there is really good. The bathrooms are clean.
That's the pulled pork barbecue, correct? That's the only barbecue they offer.
Well, yeah. What are you talking about? Of course it's
okay. Oh, yeah, fish barbecue. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I remember telling some Euro bros that like that our gas station has merch, and they were like, "I'm sorry, what?"
Yeah, and just
I'm like, "Yeah, our gas stations have mascots."
Yeah, I walked in and I was like, "This is a small Walmart."
Yeah, it really. I think. Okay, hold on. Let me pull it up because I think I did this once. How big is the average buck?
For those who don't know what we're talking about, Buc-ee's is a gas station franchise, I suppose, but it is, like I said, about the size of a small Walmart, that they will have 50 odd gas station pumps. And if you go in, that there is this clothing section, their mascot is a beaver, but they have good food. They have barbecue. You can get fudge, ice cream, caramel popcorn. They'll have barbecue sauces, spices. It's all this different stuff. And their locations primarily are in the middle of big cities, that they aren't in the cities themselves a lot. They're starting to open places, but it's where you stop if you're on a road trip.
Every time.
They will have billboards out 100 miles saying next Buc-ee's in, 124 miles, 84 miles away, 60 miles left. It counts you down.
It's like New Year's Eve in New York. It's like 100 miles, 80 miles, 50 miles. Like it's an event.
And the first billboard after you pass it, next Buc-ee's, 260 miles.
Yeah, you exit that Buc-ee's. It's like, here's the next one. The average size of a 7-Eleven is 2,500 square feet to 4,000 square feet. The average Buc-ee size is 35,000 square feet, with about 50 pumps at every store.
Yep.
It's awesome. They have furniture in there. You can get Buc-ee PJs. You can get like saltwater their saltwater taffy is scrumptious. They have a giant bronze statue of Buc-ee the beaver outside. Yeah, they really do. It's great.
That's the waypoint, that you get people will take their picture with this statue, and that's just, I've seen things comparing it to a bonfire in Dark Souls, of just, that you get there, you're at your safe. You're at a safe save point. That's where you update in your long journey.
That's really good. I don't think I've ever heard it like that. I like that. Oh man, that's funny.
Buc-ee's is the big thing of Texas pride that I will 100% say it lives up to the reputation.
The whole like small town, like, what do you do for fun? Walk around Walmart. That's the same thing with Buc-ee's, like walk around Buc-ee's. They have Buc-ee rib rub, and we call it Buc-ee rib, and I put it on everything. Like anytime I make potatoes, if I make carrots, if I make chicken, anything, like Buc-ee rub goes on it. That's like our table salt.
And so I grew up in Maryland, and the thing there is Old Bay. And I am here to confirm the stereotype that Old Bay is freaking phenomenal.
Fair enough. You know what? I respect that you confirm the stereotype. I respect not going against like your state thing or whatever and be like, no, I don't like that. Like I like that you're like, yeah, that's true.
And the thing that Old Bay now is carried nationally at big chain stores, so Walmart, Target, wherever. So you can now get it wherever. And I always encourage folks of just, it's very similar to what Bucky Rub sounds like. Of just you can put it on whatever. You can put it on chicken. You can put it in soups. Some
Having
crazy
it on
folks will
hand.
put it in, like, I've had people put it in ice cream, and I'll admit that's not where
Whoa.
I'm going to normally put it. That what you get there is that's the sweet and savory paradigm there of, you know, chocolate peanut butter, that it is a strong seasoning, so you don't need a lot. It's just a pinch, and it's not something that I would expect from ice cream. But when you have it, it's the type of thing that's like, okay, this is not the normal flavor profile, but it's solid. But it's not what ice cream should be every day. I'm going to say
Babe, what's wrong? You've hardly touched your celery, salt, red pepper, black pepper, and paprika ice cream. What's wrong? You're letting it melt all over your hand. If a guy took me on a date and he gave me Old Bay ice cream, I would leave.
I will certainly say that's not a like a first date food. No.
That's a second date food. That's a
yes.
That's I'm gonna test your boundaries and see how okay
there you
you
go.
are with
there
insanity.
you go.
That's no different than mint. Hey now.
So outside of cooking and streaming, I know that you're into a lot of crafting. So things like crocheting, sewing. Have you had any projects that you're working on?
So I am into crafts. So this is a little bit of a side note. When I wake up in the morning, I am in the chipperest of moods. I wake up happy, and so much so that my mama sometimes, like, if I hear her in the other room, it's like 6 a.m. and I'm like, hello, and she's like, hi, what are you doing? I'm like, do you want to hang out? And she's like, it's like 6 in the morning. I'm like, I know, but like you're awake and I'm awake, and like we can hang out and do activities. And so I like having stuff planned out, and I like having exciting things to do during the day. But I do enjoy crafty activities. And I do like sewing. I haven't sewed in a while, but one of my friends, they oh gosh, like almost 2 years ago now, had a baby, and I made bibs and burp cloths and baby blankets and all kinds of stuff. And then my other friend had a baby like 2 years ago, and I'm still working on it because I haven't. She lives in a different state, so I haven't seen her in a while. But I'm still working on like crocheting a baby blanket for her. But her daughter's 2 now, so it's gonna be more not like a baby blanket,
It'll be
like
a toddler blanket.
But it's made for a baby size, so it's very not large. But yeah, I do enjoy crocheting and such, and I like sewing. I actually learned to crochet because during the summer when I was like 7, maybe, my mom and my daddy dropped me off at a work friend's house who they had 2 daughters, and it was their grandma's house, and they were in cheerleading, and I was not. But we would have to go to their cheer practices sometimes, and so I would just tag along. And their grandma had like crochet and stuff, and it was like that little circle, like where you make hats and such. And so I asked her about it one day, and she was like, yeah, like blah blah blah. She like showed me, and she was like, do you want to roll this ball of yarn? And I was like, absolutely. So I rolled so many balls of yarn for that lady, and finally she gave me like a little practice one, and I just started doing it with her, like doing little scarves and little hats. And I don't think I ever really, like at that age, finished one, but I did learn, and so I retained it, and so I picked it up recently a few years ago. But I've made some beanies now and stuff, and but I think that sewing is easier than crocheting in the sense that you can churn stuff out faster, because crocheting hurts your hands after a little while. But I would really love to pick up knitting as well, which is very similar to crocheting, but it's 2-handed instead of primarily one. That was a lot of information.
Yeah, so a lot of that is stuff. So I have friends that are really into knitting, crocheting, and those types of activities. I myself have very little working knowledge of any of them.
What fun activities do you like to do, Jay? Whenever you wake up in the chipperest of mood and you're ready for morning activities, what do you like to do?
Prepare for talk shows.
It's a working man right here.
Yeah, well, that, you know, I mentioned I watch a fair bit of anime. I like planning events, I think, is what I enjoy doing. That a lot of the different things that I occupy my time with are shows, projects of organization, and getting people together to do a thing. I've said several times on the show that Vtuber Talk is one of probably 5 different little projects that I have to occupy my time, and that over the course of the past several years, it's just been, all right, I have free time on my hands, so I'm going to spin up a project, and I'm going to focus on that. And once I have that project comfortably working and knowing, all right, I have it down to a formula, whether it be a once a week or once a month thing, then I evaluate, do I still have free time? And if so, then I start up another project, and then I wait and get used to them. So I'm not going to load up and start spinning 5 plates all at once, but, start spinning 1 plate. Do I have that plate set? Cool. I'm going to start a second one.
Oh, that's crazy.
And that's how I occupy my time. So I have different things with friends that, I do a podcast with a friend once a week. I do a couple different streams with other friends on other channels, ranging from once a week to once a month. And that at one point, I looked and said, all right, I want to spin up a new plate. And Vtuber Talk was that plate.
That's so you have multiple projects going on all at once.
Yes, but they're all smaller ones, and they aren't, really big, complex ones. And that's why I'm able to juggle so many, because I try to keep the different projects I do self-contained and efficient to just, all right, if I have the basic setup done, that I can just continue doing them, that the legwork I need to do for Vtuber Talk on a week-to-week basis isn't that much anymore. That, frankly, the biggest thing that is time-consuming for me is going out and looking for potential guests, of just, popping in on streams and looking for folks that I'm interested in, because I don't just reach out blindly, that I don't just send somebody a DM if I haven't been, viewing their streams, at least seen 2 or 3 streams of theirs.
Yeah, he's got a whole Google Docs on us, y'all.
I have the list.
The list. Yeah, see, that's just so interesting, because it really is. I mean, that is quite literally the absolute polar opposite of me. I start a project, I get super into it, and then as soon as I feel fulfilled with it, I drop it and I move on to the next thing. This is probably, like, VTubing and stuff is probably the longest project I've ever had. So when I was like 15 I would say 16 or 17, I made I used to be really into metal bands, and so I used to make patches like for vests and stuff for local bands and such, and I used to sell those at shows and all that kind of stuff, and that was like a good 6-ish months or so, and that was a lot of fun. And then I kind of got bored of that, blah blah blah. And then whenever I was like 19 or 20, I worked at my local farmers market selling jam, and it's because I played Stardew Valley, and I was like, I want to be that.
So did you make the jam, or?
Yeah. I made it all homemade, and I used to sell it at a farmer's market and such. And then I did that for a season, and then I started VTubing, and then I just moved. But yeah, I can't do multiple projects. I'm like, I'm super into this.
Well, all and those are very, very intensive projects, and like I said, mine are smaller, and I think
that's fair.
Part of why I'm able to continue doing so many is because I'm not spending all my time on one thing, that I'm able to just hop around and, on any given day, that I don't schedule out, okay, today I'm going to work on this project, or today I'm going to work on that project, that I'm able to just sort of at my leisure say, all right, which project do I feel like working on today, and do that. And if a deadline starts to pop up for one project, that I can focus on in that way, but I'm generally able to keep things to where I am not pressured by deadlines.
That's probably the healthier way to do that.
And that's why I'm able to avoid burnout on any given thing, because no one thing is something that I'm super focused on or having to sink all of my time into for 6 months nonstop. It's just, all right, a couple hours a week here, there, wherever, and that it's just whenever the fancy strikes me to work on that project on that given day. And I've very deliberately built that type of flexibility into the projects that I do.
No, I feel like that's not only the smarter way, but yeah, like the healthier way to handle projects, because yeah, you don't get as burned out. That's smart. You're big noggin on this guy. Oh, pardon.
And I will say, VTuber Talk is probably the biggest of the projects that I have spun up. That a lot of them are even more self-sustaining than this. And fortunately, like I said, at this point, Vtuber Talk, most of it is just seeking out guests. That the amount of overlay changes, the stuff I do in OBS, that takes 15 minutes maximum per
Yeah.
show, nothing at all.
Oh, and I think yeah, because you've made it to where every stream is different because it has different people, but like it's not super intensive on you, which I think is
Exactly.
is big shmoney moves.
Yes. Yeah, and this being episode 98, that this was initially going to be 99, but sadly had to cancel a show on Tuesday that
Yeah.
for very understandable purposes, and that one's being rescheduled. But yeah, it's been over 2 years, and the fact that it's going to be triple digits very shortly,
which is so cool.
Oh, it's wild.
Time to be flying.
Nice. Yeah. So for your streams that you have been pretty busy lately, you stream a couple times a week, but when you do that, you play a lot of different games. You do enjoy horror games as you enjoy horror movies, but you also enjoy just doing first playthroughs and being able to have that initial reaction for the games that you play on your stream.
Yeah, I saved a lot of games. Like, I didn't play a lot of series and stuff that I wanted to play until I started streaming so that I could do, because I feel like maybe it's not like super rare, right? But like, I'd never played Halo, I'd never played Undertale, I'd never played Dark Souls, I'd never played Portal or nothing like that. And so I saved all of those series like so that I could play them for the very first time, because I thought that that would be a cool experience to like share, because again, I not only hadn't played them, I didn't know any spoilers for them. I had no idea about like when I got Dark Souls, I had zero clue what a Souls-like was, or like I didn't even know what Dark Souls was going to look like. I'd never seen video of it or anything. With Halo, I knew what like Master Chief looked like, but like I had no idea the storyline or anything. And so I mean, I feel like it was fairly rare to have so many big ticket games that like not only have I not played, but I didn't even know the spoilers for. Which was a cool experience to share.
And that also just sort of gives you the excuse of, all right, this is a game that I've been wanting to play, meaning to play, but for whatever reason just haven't gotten around to.
Yeah.
But when you have the stream, all right, this is actually going to get me to finally actually play this.
Yeah. It's like I have the reasoning now.
Which of the first playthroughs that you've done were the farthest from what you expected?
I would say that Undertale took me by surprise, just because I didn't expect it to make me sob as much as I did. I cried so much on that stream. I even was like, guys, I'm kind of embarrassed at how much I'm like a snot-nosed little kid right now. And so that kind of took me for a whirl, because I was like, I really didn't know that it was going to be so emotional. And so that kind of, because I was like, oh, cute little like pixel hot, but like Sans. I was like, this is gonna be a goofy little game, but it's actually so much more than that. And then I would say Dark Souls also kind of caught me off guard, because it was super hard, and I actually gave up a few times on it. But I'm also a very stubborn person, so I was like, I can't actually give up. And so whenever, like James is saying, like I cried whenever I beat it, because I was like, dude, like I debated playing this for so long, and like I gave up so many times. So I remember being very like, games that it wasn't even that I didn't expect them to be that way, but I didn't expect them to affect me the way that they did. Also with like Portal too, like also I really enjoyed Portal, and while it didn't make me emotional, like I beat the first Portal, and then for the second one, because I was like, oh, I'm giant brain, I was like, I'm gonna play all of Portal 2 for the very first time in one sitting, and I did. It took me 9 hours. But I did it, and I remember at the end of that, I was like, oh my gosh, like, that was crazy. Like, I just shared that first experience with everybody, and it was just a little, like, a game about, like, cool physics or whatever. So I think it's cool to share, like, my first experience with everybody, but a lot of my expectations of games get shifted because, like, I didn't know anything about the game, even though they're big-ticket games, like BioShock, which, by the way, I killed all the little sisters, if you were wondering.
Yes,
and
I saw that comment from Cowd. I was like, one word.
Oh, yeah.
Sisters? Huh?
Yeah, I had no idea what BioShock was going to be like at all. And so I was just like, oh, BioShock, I've heard of that. I'll play it. And so I remember being like, oh, like, I didn't know how deep some of these games was.
Yeah, that's the fun thing. And just, I don't obviously play games on stream myself, except for what will be that Elden Ring stream, but being able to watch just as a viewer has allowed me to experience a lot of games that I haven't played myself, and that
Yeah.
we were talking earlier about the concept of watching someone play games, whether it be recorded or live, and that it's really cool to have that option of if that's how you want to experience a game. And there's also on the opposite end ones of there are games I know I want to play but haven't gotten around to yet, that I will sadly, if I see a streamer I really love playing the game, will be like, I'm not tuned into that person today because I don't want spoilers.
Yep. And but on the same hand of that, I feel like once you like if you play a game and that you like is you really love, getting to watch somebody else
Yes.
play it like is so like with Resident Evil 4, watching anybody play that, I'm just like foaming at the mouth. I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is like my favorite thing to watch or whatever. And then once I beat Dark Souls, I remember just for like a couple weeks, I was like, I'm only watching Dark Souls people. So I would just only watch people that play Dark Souls and streamed it. And it was super cool. And like same with Portal. Once I beat Portal, I was like, oh, like I like doing that because I would play the game for the first time and then I would go watch other people play it for the first time. And I was like, oh, like now I know what what it was like watching me.
One of my
cool.
past guests just last night beat Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild for the first time.
Really?
And I missed the stream, but I went back to watch the VOD just to see them play the final boss and to see them have that experience of the ending. So I know exactly what you're talking about of when you have a game that you love, seeing someone experience that for the first time and being able to see that type of joy and sort of knowing that you know what's going to happen with the game, but now the mystery is, all right, what's their reaction going to be?
Yeah, it does shift from like what's going to happen in the story to what is this person going to do in the game.
Mm-hmm.
It is a cool it's like a cool the gamer becomes the streamer, the viewer.
Yes.
Which is a cool shift. I like that.
Are there any games that you're really looking forward to, whether they've not come out yet or if they have come out that you haven't gotten to yet?
I will be playing the Resident Evil 4 remake through Gritted Teeth because I don't know if I'm gonna like it, and I played the demo and I don't know how to feel about the demo. There are cool things that they added that I do like, but there are some things that I do not like that they've done already. And I love Resident Evil 4. I grew up watching my daddy play it. I had this purple beanbag in the old barn, and I would watch him in his room play it, and I was like 6, I think, and I would just watch, and I was like, this is the coolest game I've ever seen. And then when I was about 15-ish, 14 or 15, I started playing it myself, and so I probably beat the game like 7-ish times all the way through now, and like 3 of those were on stream. And I don't know. I know everything. I know all there is to know about Resident Evil 4, and so I'm very nervous that they're gonna ruin it and mess it up by like they've already done some choice things. Like they got rid of Ashley's ears. Like her ears are ginormous, and they covered them up with hair. She has a jacket on. They changed their outfits. Like da da da. It's like I don't know. It was kind of like how I feel about the Diablo 2 remake. Like I'd never beat Diablo 2, but I have played a fair bit of Diablo 2, and I was like, dude, they've redesigned the characters so much. And I don't know. I'm gonna try my hardest to give it the fairest of chance, but I'm mostly playing it out of spite because I have to judge it. But yeah, that comes out like next Friday, I think, or this Friday.
I've seen the demo around a fair bit, and obviously Resident Evil 4, that one of the primary shooters on the GameCube, but also one of the pioneers of the third-person shooter as a camera style, really.
Yeah, oh man, oh yeah. It's I only ever played it on the GameCube until I got it on my computer. So sometimes it took me a while to get used to computer controls because I was like, where's my little yellow Joy-Con thing? Like on the GameCube.
It's always a shift going from controller, whether it be GameCube controller, Xbox, PlayStation, to a keyboard and mouse,
and vice versa. There have been times where like I'll be on my computer or whatever, and then I'll switch to my Nintendo Switch, and I'm like, oh yeah, like buttons and stuff.
What is your favorite part of Resident Evil 4? That is it the story, the gameplay? Is there a scene, an interaction?
It's gonna have to be. It's the gameplay overall. It handles really well. It feels really good. And whenever you're playing it on GameCube, like whenever the controller like vibrates and stuff, whenever it's great, like whenever you're like slashing, whenever you like with the knife and stuff, like there's so many like just good parts of it, but also just like the story and the commentary. Like I think the story is just so it's so goofy. Like it's so I don't know, just like I have to save the president's daughter and like oh blah, blah or whatever. And like it's just so cool. And yeah, I really did. I was super into Leon growing up. I had a big old crush on him. So much so that whenever like my dad would play and I would watch, there are times where if you make Leon run for too long, he starts breathing kind of heavy, and I would make my dad stop because I was like, "Give him a break." He's like, "Dude, I'm trying to like get through this. I'm trying to get through the castle. Like, please let me go through." I'm like, "Dude, he's breathing too hard. You're working him to death. Give him a second to catch his breath." He always gets so mad. But yeah, I did, and I remember it was like the coolest thing because in the very like opening scene when Leon goes into the house, he says the S word. And I remember that, like, I remember my dad let me hear it. And I was like, oh, this is the biggest, my dad's so cool. I was like, dude, no way. But yeah, like, I think it feels good. The progression, it builds on itself good. Like, I like that you have to unlock the bigger, you know, cases and stuff, the storage cases and stuff. And, like, I like that, you know, you have choices of, like, do I can use, like, I like that you can run out of ammo. I like that when you find ammo around, so, like, you find a lot of TMP ammo, but if you don't buy the TMP, well, then you just have a bunch of ammo that you can sell, or you don't have any ammo for anything else because you bought all these guns, but now you're not getting the ammo for them, or blah, 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 or whatever. I just like that there's a lot of choices in it, and I like that there's a lot of side things, like the blue medallions and all kinds of stuff, that make the game super cool if you do them, but, like, is not necessary.
Yeah.
I like choices.
Optional experiences. Your dad used the command !Ashley in the chat.
Did you know that Ashley was voiced by Sandy Cheeks?
I did not know that, but now that you mention it, I do hear it.
Leon, help! Yeah, I love. Oh man, I hope that you can still put her in the trash cans while you're fighting all the guys, and you're just like, wait, and you just make her sit there while you handle business.
Stay safe. Hide here.
Yeah, just, actually, it's not even stay safe. It's just don't get in my way.
Get out of the way and do not move.
It's fine if you die, but like, I just need you to not be in my way. Because if you die on my watch, like, that's fine or whatever. But like, if you die because you stood in front of me while I was shooting, then we're gonna have a problem. And she's so dumb. Oh my gosh, I forgot how. Oh man, she is so irritating. She really does. Like, if you point a gun, she just ducks, and it's like, can you just move to the side? Oh, you know this shotgun has extra spray, right? Like, it's might get hit.
And it will be interesting to see, because it then becomes a question of how much of Ashley's behavior was AI limitations back in the day versus active design choices of, is the intent to have her be that level of obtrusive and that's part of the challenge? Or was it just sort of circumstantial that, all right, we don't know how to very reliably program for her to do more complex actions when she's in the line of fire, so we're just going to have her duck. That's the simple programmatic solution versus what you can do now when how game development has advanced. So that's the type of thing that gets me curious of how will they change it.
It used to trip me out. Like, she's the president's daughter and she don't got no gun to like protect herself. But then I met her in the game and I'm like, now I see why your father did not give you a gun. I would never trust you with this thing. Ever. I've seen how you handle them. I don't want, like, this sucks. And I like how whenever you play her, you don't get a gun. You just have to throw lanterns at her and crawl around. Please don't give her a gun in the remake. Please don't.
So that's always an interesting thing because, you know, remakes are done because it's going to be a beloved game in one way or another. That companies aren't going to remake a game that they don't think is going to sell well. It's done because for some group of people is very popular. And obviously Resident Evil 4 is very high up there for a lot of people. So that was a game that I didn't really grow up with, that I knew it, but just, you know, similar to horror movies, it's not really a horror game per se. I just have never been really good at shooters, whether it be first, third person, or otherwise.
Oh.
But it's one that I've been very aware of since its initial release. And I was really excited when I heard about the remake because I knew that it was something that a lot of people were going to look forward to. So it's been fun seeing people playing the demo, and I'm looking forward to seeing the full release and being able to actually hopefully watch a playthrough, or at least cobble together multiple playthroughs from different streamers to get the full story.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see how good it is. I'll have to give the official cow report.
Bessie is judging you, Capcom. Don't disappoint her.
They already took away the ballistics. Yeah, she was armed with ballistics, not no more. So we'll have to see about that.
Well, I know you're gonna have to get going soon, so I have just a couple last questions that I asked all my guests before we wrap up for the day.
Yeah.
First off, do you have any goals for 2023 that we're still pretty early on here, that we're getting, little past halfway in March? Do you have anything that you're really hoping to do, whether it be, a numbers goal in terms of followers, or if it's a project goal of getting a new model or doing a certain type of stream, releasing a cover? Is there anything you're really hoping to accomplish in 2023?
I would say that I would really like to get back to streaming more than just like 1, maybe 2 days a week, because I am still new at my job, and one of the girls that I worked with, she was on maternity leave during the busiest times during my job. And we're very happy for her. She brings a baby into work now, which is super exciting. So I just get to see a baby all day. But it was very busy, and I'm like between because recently I don't talk about it too much or like in depth, but like recently I had like some health stuff, so I've like had to been going to doctor's appointments, all kind of stuff, and I'm only really available like on Fridays, but that's only one of the days that I can stream because I go to work, and then I work till like 4:30, and then I go to the gym, and by the time I get home I've already been up for like 14 hours. I'm tired. So I would really like to get, now that my workload should be a little less, I'd really like to get back into streaming more often. So I honestly, like, I think if I had one goal, it would probably just be to get back to streaming in a more consistent scheduling, I would say.
Mm-hmm. And the last question, it's one I ask all my guests. What does being a VTuber mean to you? And that's not what is the definition of a VTuber, but different people get different things from VTubing. I've had folks say, it lets me get in touch with my inner child, or it lets me be someone that I can't be in real life. I've had others take a more clinical approach and say, it's a tool in my toolkit as an actor, as a content creator, that it's a mask that I wear, and I love wearing this fun mask, but I don't necessarily have a emotional connection to the mask, but I wouldn't want to perform without this mask. And there's all these different things, and there is no one right way to be a VTuber. So for you, Bessie, what does being a VTuber mean to you?
I think that being a VTuber, honestly, for me, and I'll have to elaborate, would be a sense of accomplishment. And what I mean by that is, my dad pushed me to do it, and like my very first stream, I genuinely was like, okay, like I'm gonna stream to like 5 people or something, and like 2 of those people are my parents, and one of them is gonna be my friend. So and then like 70 people came and to my debut, and I remember like after I hit end stream, I went out into the hallway and I was running in my parents' room, but they were already running in my room, and we all just like jumped up and down, and I cried, and we were like, dude, that was the coolest thing, and like whatever. And I can genuinely say that I achieved everything that I wanted to do with VTubing in my very first stream. Like, I didn't stream to nobody. I had people come, I had chat, and that was cool. And so everything that has come after with that, like affiliate and partner and all other kinds of stuff, like that all was just bonuses because I achieved what I set out to do the very first stream that I did. So I think for me, like VTubing was like a sense of accomplishment of like, because again, like whenever I first started, like my dad was like, oh, if you don't want to do it, that's fine. But like, I was worried that I couldn't. And so like, it just reminds me that like, I did it, like I did the thing. And like, I set out to do it. I learned all this stuff, and then I hit the go live thing, and then I ended it. And then I came back the next day, and then people were there. And I think that was just like, it was just an experience and a sense of fulfillment for me. And I maybe know that that's not like probably like maybe the answer you're looking for, like what
No,
VTubing
I
is to
asked
me,
the
but
question
like,
because the answer is always different for everybody, and
yeah,
that's why I keep asking it. That it's, like I said, one of really two questions that are the only thing that are really consistent with how I run my show, because
yeah,
everyone's answer is different. And while I never know how somebody is going to answer, people's answers always make sense. And even if it's just from the couple hours that we spent talking together, that, you know, it's similar to a lot of the food conversation we had of just sort of expectations and going out, not necessarily looking for
yeah,
that 5-star expectation, but that you had your goals in mind for VTubing, and that you were not necessarily expecting partner or to,
no,
have any significant level or specific level of success, that you had your
or even
baseline
just
of
people
just,
to come back.
yeah, and that you had that clear goal in mind, and that your happiness is in line with those expectations, and that, like you said, you were able to accomplish all that on your first go, and that now everything is just gravy from there.
Yeah, and it's just super cool too, because like I like to talk a lot, and I also don't have a lot of a filter, so a lot of things like I just think of and then I just say, which is why a lot of my most like, you know, well loved clips are me being are me not finishing sentences and then starting a different one, like interrupting myself, and so I
But
think it's just cool
at
that
least you have the wherewithal to stop and go to something else, because not every, you say you don't have a filter. The fact that you are cognizant enough to stop yourself means that you do have a filter, at least in some regard.
yeah, I just interrupt myself with another random thought. But I think that it's just cool because like I have I had a lot to say. And you know, a lot of people, I feel like it's a very common thing nowadays to be like, oh, like no one will care about this, or like no one will think this is interesting. And I just do not buy into that mindset. I think that even if it's very random, oh, and it doesn't make sense, or if nobody else thinks it's funny, like if I don't say what I'm thinking or share my thoughts, then they stay in my head. And while I don't, you know, like some stuff, like I just, I'm like, oh, this isn't the time to say this thing. But I don't think anybody's thoughts should stay in their head. I think that even if it's random or boring, or if I'm not interested in it, like everybody's thoughts and things that pop in their head, I think they all have value to a degree or to not a degree. And so sometimes whenever me and my dad are talking and my mom hears us and like whatever, we're like, do you know how honored you are to hear the inner workings of our brain? Because I really do actually really feel that way. I genuinely am like, I think it's valuable that I share my thoughts with other people, because if I don't, then no one knows what I'm thinking or feeling, and then people can't gauge me. And also, if I don't say it, then like it's never gonna get said. So I never have regrets of like, oh, I said this embarrassing thing, or like I shouldn't have said that, because I just say the thing. Unless I'm like at a funeral or something, then I will turn on my normal people mode. But like 99% of the time, even at work, like in staff meetings, like during like a meeting with like 30 people, like I'll just say what I'm thinking, and I don't really care if people think it's funny or not. Like I've never had a regret about not saying something, because I don't know, I just think it's worth it to share. And so I think I always make this joke of like, I like streaming because people can't talk to me, and so I just talk, and so it just lets me like ramble and rant, and like everybody gets, if you don't want to listen to my thoughts, that's fine, and you don't have to, you can leave. But like seeing any amount of people that stay, I'm like, dude, like these people also think my thoughts have value. Like that's super cool. And so I always try to convince people like, just say whatever you're thinking, and just say your first thing and like your natural instinct for things and blah blah blah, because it's better to have made things uncomfortable and to like miss the joke and like not have it land than to just sit there. Dude, you're doing yourself no favor by sitting there going, oh man, it would have been really funny if I said this thing, or like whatever, or trying to say it later. So like it's, I don't know, I just would prefer to say what I'm thinking than to not, you know. And I really tried to hone in on that with people. Like it would just be so much better if everybody was just like very honest and just said their goofy little quirky thing, you know.
Yeah, and just for you, seeing the streams of yours that I've seen, that makes perfect sense, and that is very much how you carry yourself. That's how you run your streams, and obviously it's done really well for you. And the folks that have been here today, also your father as well, thanks for tuning in, Cowdad, and thanks for giving Bessie the push to dive into VTubing. That you obviously have a lot of folks that really care about you, that really enjoy the things that you say and do, and it's just, that's one of the fun things for me as a host, that everybody who gets into streaming or VTubing and is able to just, like you said, if you have one viewer, doesn't matter if it's 100, 1,000,
Yeah.
that it's such a special experience to be able to put on a show and entertain others and just be part of their day, whether it be for a couple of minutes or a couple of hours. That's part of why I do VTuber Talk, that one, surprise, surprise, I like talking, and I like talking to other people. And that,
you really?
Yeah, who knew?
I wouldn't have thought.
But just being able to, like I said, put on a show, entertain others, and get thoughts out into the world, or to be able to talk with others and hear their thoughts. That's what's interesting to me as a host, as a person. And, that's part of why I wanted to have you on the show, because I could tell from your streams, like, I could talk to Bessie for several hours and have a good time. And I knew going into this that we were going to have a good time, and we most certainly have. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day. Like you said, you only are able to actually stream a couple days a week right now, and that you have very graciously given up one of those few days that you can stream on your channel to be on mine. So thank you so much. I really
thank
do
you for
appreciate
having me, because this has been cool. This has been neat, and I like talking, and you like talking, and I like talking to people that like to talk, because it's always nice times, because it's always very, I don't like, okay, I was about to say I don't like one-sided conversations, but I did just say that I like how chat can talk back to me. But in like vocal form, I don't like one-sided conversations. I very much like interacting and like discussing things. So I appreciate that you are also, I like that you keep up, and I like that I really can appreciate that. As someone who doesn't do interviews with people or whatever, but has been interviewed for like job reasons or just like asked questions and stuff. Very random side note, at the farmers market I worked at, they were asking me why like I started working at the farmers market, and I said Stardew Valley.
Did they know what that was?
Yes.
Okay.
But I appreciate that you keep up, and that you like, because I feel like it's very difficult sometimes. You kind of get lost with like questions or like rants or like just spacing off, and I feel like it's hard to be a good interviewer. So I appreciate that you put a lot of time and effort into it, and it shows. And so I'm also very appreciative to have. I would like to invest the time. You said that that I graciously gave up one of my streaming days, but I would like to invest time into people who invest time into themselves, into their stuff, and I can tell that you do. So I appreciate you very much for having me. This was really nice.
Oh, well, thank you. I do my best, and it always makes me happy.
Would you
to
say
know
that you do your best?
There's
another one for you. Keep that one in your back pocket. I won't even charge you for it.
Also, I realized there have been several other follows that I've missed, because we've just been talking up a storm, having a good time. So thank you, Patmos909, RazorX, Sai Orion, Femboy Kiwi, James 2017 LC, and Holoflux for the follows. And actually, there is one more question, and that is, do you have someone you would like us to raid?
Ooh, okay, let me refresh the tab.
Well, while Bessie's looking into that, I'll do a little last-minute housekeeping. Again, thank you to everybody who's been here for 1 minute, 1 hour in chat. Really do appreciate you all stopping by. If you are interested, you can follow me here on Twitch and on Twitter. I do these shows about once a week, but I do actually have a show tomorrow. Like I said, very rare 2-show weekend. And that every show is different. So if you feel like stopping by, love to see you again. But regardless, if for some absurd reason you aren't already following Bessie, please be sure to do so. The links are here at the bottom of the page. They're also down in the Twitch panels. If you're watching this on YouTube, it'll be in the video description. Hi, YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Yeah.
Oh, that's super cool in the description. That's super neat. I like that. That's really cool. Let's see. I think could we raid Frida Knox?
Ooh, Frida Knox. I need to remember, she recently changed the spelling of her name.
Did she? No, she didn't.
She swapped.
Ah! No, we're doing regular. If we're doing a raid message, we got to do the normal spelling. How dare she change it?
Now I also need to double check because I used to mess it up, and now I'm trying to remember which it was changed to. So I think it is now I before E
It
instead
is.
of E
That's
before I,
so
because it used to
weird.
be the opposite one.
Oh, that's terrible. How could she? I didn't even notice she changed it. I'll never call her by her new one.
Yes, I know she actually had a debut recently, or a re-debut, and
She did. Her model is fantastic. Very good model. Yeah, you got a regular Frida E before I.
yes, and it is just 1x, not 2, so I'm going to get that all queued up. But again, thank you so much for stopping by. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and oh, hello?
Hello?
Hello. Yes, no, you zoomed in, so I was like, wait a minute, what's going on?
No, I was just gonna. I was gonna tell you that I would like to formally grant you the Yeehaw card. This is your
Oh.
This is your Yeehaw pass. So don't ever let nobody tell you that you can't use that word because I'm formally giving you the Yeehaw pass.
Oh, well, thank you very much. In case you didn't know, folks, only certified Texans can actually grant this card to non-natives, so this is actually a really big moment for me.
I don't give this card out often, but when I do, it's to people that I trust to use it sparingly and use it at the right times.
Well, yeehaw indeed, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jay. I do genuinely appreciate it. Thank you to everybody who came. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much.
Yes, indeed. So be sure to spam some emotes and let Frida know that Bessie sent you all. We'll be sending you along. But again, thank you for stopping by. Have a great rest of your day, and I hope to see you all again next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.